Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Raw Knuckles podcast. We'd really appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, and share with a friend.
Like you try to take it in, you're like, this is actually happening right now, and you pull on that sweater and you you walk out, and there's a giant plaque of names and all the awards won, and you just go through, MVPs, scoring titles, Norris winners, and you're just like, wow, like this is legendary.
When I stepped on the ice, I never backed down and I never stayed down.
And I was vicious and I was malicious, and I don't care.
I'm alive. He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive.
Welcome to the Raw Knuckles podcast. Jordan, awesome that you took the time out of your schedule to join us. I really appreciate it. Let's get going here. I played at Northeastern. I'm an alumnus. You're an alumnus. And I think back in my day, Northeastern was low man on the totem pole. A lot of local Mass kids went to either Boston University or Boston College, or if they were really smart, they go to Harvard. And you being from Mass, you picked Northeastern. And there's a lot more local kids going there now. What made you pick Northeastern?
Honestly, it was just kind of an overall feeling. Like right when I stepped on campus, it was just, it just felt right, honestly. And just the combination of, there is that kind of underdog mentality a little bit, even when I was getting recruited. And the talent levels just keep going up year after year, and the recruits that they get now, like I think they might have had the most draft picks out of any college school as part of the recruiting class this past year. So just testament, I mean, to the coaching staff, and I think kids now are seeing how special a place it is. But just a combination of one being local, like staying local was huge, and there's so many good schools around Haverhill, Mass, where I live, and just so my family could come watch, and the education level and the hockey, it just felt like right at home.
Well, that's awesome. A Huntington Hound on the show today with Knuckles. Listen, hockey for you, starting Massachusetts, obviously a hockey hotbed in the U.S. Back in my day, it was just Minnesota and New England. That's where all the hockey players come from. Now we're seeing that a bit more, different areas because of the NHL, their grassroots programs and teams going into the Sun Belt, teams in California, seeing a lot more kids from different areas. But growing up in Mass and being that hockey state that it is, people are passionate about the game. For you, how was it growing up and just getting into hockey? Your dad was a goaltender, and what piqued your interest in the game as a young boy?
I mean, you said it, my dad, like he played at UMass Lowell. He was drafted by the Islanders. So we were a hockey family, right from the jump, like a lot of kids, seeing, playing these days. And my older brother was a goalie. I wanted to be a goalie. Actually, my dad was like, that's not happening. He's like, we're not having two goalies in the family. Maybe because the equipment's getting so expensive, but, on skates at 3 years old, always around the rink, like watching my brother growing up, getting dragged to the rink early in the morning. And there are just so many good players, like you said, from Massachusetts, and it is a hotbed, and they should crank out good players year after year. And so now as I've gotten older, it's a lot more fun to look back and be like, wow, I grew up, watching these guys, and now I get to skate with them in the summer. Or, I've heard about these guys and I've looked up to them, and now, I'm training with them in the gym and everything like that. So it really is cool, and it's a great spot to be if you want to be a good hockey player.
Well, growing up in Mass too, in all the teams there are, in growing up in Haverhill and being from a biracial family, how difficult or I shouldn't say how difficult, but what are some of the things you had to deal with as a young boy that maybe the average kid didn't have to deal with growing up uh, and playing the game they love? Like, did you have to deal with some of those things? I know your family has spoken about it, but how about from you?
Not really me per se. I think it was more, my dad, growing up, because back then it was even more so you don't see, kids of color in hockey, and he's African American. I don't really, I would say, look per se African American. Like, people wouldn't know maybe right off that come from a mixed background, but I think it's great the way the game's trending these days, and you see more inclusivity and more, kids of minority backgrounds getting into hockey, and having the resources to get into hockey. And But I wouldn't really say there are many challenges, but I definitely think I was really fortunate to be exposed to that early. Being exposed to, my dad being of color, being a coach, for my team growing up, hearing his stories of playing, and just, really having a diverse background. Like, he was adopted. And so his family, if you see him with his family, you wouldn't think they're related, like they're, like my uncle is 5'6", and he's white and Jewish and a lawyer, in Philadelphia. And it's just like so funny because, growing up, there was no color. You didn't see any stuff like that. It was just,
Yeah.
a family that got along great, and so I was really fortunate to be exposed to that at a young age.
Well, that's good, and it's also probably not probably, but also good that your dad was able to probably teach you some things and make you aware of some things as a young boy that you might have to deal with, and not have to, and then not have to deal with them was just probably a plus for you. But and again, I don't want to get bogged down on that, but I wanted to certainly address it. And you growing up, you played AAA, right? What was it? The Islanders Hockey Club played AAA. Um, and then off to KUA, went to prep school. I went to Northwood Prep for 1 year. It was the best year of my life. I played at Catholic Memorial, and I had nowhere to go out of high school. I wasn't recruited. I had nowhere to go. That 1 year I spent at prep school was the best year of my life. It made such a change in direction for me, and gave me an opportunity that at Northeastern that I would have never got if I didn't go there. What was your experience like at KUA?
I would say the same exact thing. Like, I always tell people it was some of the, my favorite years. And it's just like, I don't know, prep school is just great because, they're smaller schools. You get to know everyone on campus. In KUA, it's such a great environment. Like there's no cell service on campus. Like, you try to call someone and you can't get through, and
Yeah.
kind of feel like you're a little isolated up there. And it's just, you become so close to your teammates, but also like your classmates. Like, you have a little advisory group, and I still hang out with my buddies, to this day. Like, I went to the beach with 2 kids from KUA last weekend. And they're just friendships, that last for a lifetime. And we had, great teams there, and Tim Whitehead, is just the best guy ever, and the best coach, and really fortunate, to be put in a situation like that, because it was, outstanding. Like, hopefully I have kids one day, and I would send them to KUA in a heartbeat.
That's cool. Yeah, prep school is an awesome experience. And so you have Whitehead, former coach of Maine, certainly has a great resume as a coach. What I wanted to ask you about KUA, in that 1 year, you played 37 games in your last year there, 2017, 2018. And then you went and played for Youngstown Phantoms in the USHL for only 5 games. What happened there? Was it a stepping stone, or was it at the end of your KUA career?
Yeah, it was right at the end of the season. So the plan was, always to play a year junior after high school before going to Northeastern. And I was drafted by Youngstown, and so the plan was always just to go there, play a year, like majority of kids play a year junior, and then go into school. And then my senior year at KUA, yeah, like I started to, kind of shoot up draft boards a little bit, and it was having a good year, and it was garnering a little more attention. And then, I hadn't really thought of going right into Northeastern, out of high school until the coaches mentioned around during Christmas time that might be an opportunity, and uh, and that was great. And then I'd say after Christmas, at some point, they were like, "Hey, we'd love to have Jordan come in next year. I think he's ready to come to college. We'd love to take him." So instead of playing that next year at Youngstown, I just went for a couple weeks after the season and got some experience out there, which was good. Definitely helpful to get that experience after high school, because it is a pretty big step. And going from high school to college, was a giant step. But the plan was always to go to Youngstown, but fortunate enough to go right into Northeastern at KUA.
Well, so you play KUA and you're playing against kids, right? All kids, teenagers growing up and playing that game. And you go to Youngstown. I'm sure that was like a big step going from basically prep hockey, high school hockey. What are some of, well, you go to Northeastern, you're coming there your freshman year, and I'm sure, some of the players are bigger, faster. Everybody is at a level now where, it's more even playing field per se. And then there's always going to be some kids better than others. What are some of the hurdles you faced in that first year at Northeastern? Listen, you go from prep school where you said everybody knows everybody, right? It's close knit. Then you go to Northeastern and it's like 75,000, right? Students are like, it's crazy the number of students they have there. Big university. And now here's this young kid coming in that first year. It must have been a little daunting to come into that environment.
A little bit, yeah, and it was more just like you said, it was so surprising, just going from 350 kids to 15, yeah, just under 15,000 undergrad. And like you go, it's so funny, like you go from prep school and like you walk by someone, you say hi, like, because you know them, you see them, in the dining hall every day, you see them around campus, you say hi. And then you go into Boston, like everyone has their headphones in, everyone's just on a mission to get somewhere, and it was just really different. Like it was like it makes you grow up pretty quick for sure, and you realize that this is big boy hockey and this is serious, and kids have been working their whole lives to get to D1 college hockey, and it definitely took me a while. And I'd say it's more of a like an overall maturity thing more than just hockey, like, if that makes sense. Like you kind of have
Yeah.
to grow up in all aspects, and I've when you play hockey from such a young age, like as you know, you learn how to manage school and hockey, and you know how to manage your time. But there's more stuff. There's social implications. There's now going from being an 18-year-old kid, you're playing with kids who are 24, 25 years old, and that was one of the biggest differences. So they're young men, so it definitely took me a little bit, but we had a great group of guys, and they helped a lot with that.
I gotta ask you, and listen, I grew up playing at the Boston. It was the Boston Arena, it was actually kind of modeled after the old Boston Garden. It had the balcony. It still has that balcony, which is
Mhm.
awesome. And the only thing when I was a kid growing up there, and I mentioned this before, but the rink was shaped like an egg. So down into the corners and around the net, it was like crazy. You would if you dumped the puck in, I mean, it'd go around so quick and took crazy bounces, but they changed that. But playing in that rink in the environment, that freshman year, you first come out in that ice and you got that jersey on and the fan base there. they have a great fan base. They built something really, really unbelievable at Northeastern. What was that feeling like that first time, that first game, and were there any adjustments you had to make? Now you're at that level. You practice all right, you practice with the guys and all that, but now you're playing against the big boys. How was that, the transition?
Like I said, it probably took, I would say, half a season to feel really comfortable, to feel like, okay, I'm playing my game that I know how to play, that I've always played. And at the beginning, like, you play off adrenaline, like, you're nervous, you want to play well and cement your spot, and you're just going. And then I'd probably say once you kind of get into it, once you get into a couple of weeks, a month, 2 months, you're like the adrenaline starts to settle down. Then you realize, like, I need to put in extra work if I want to be great, if I want to be not just, a good defenseman, but a great defenseman at the college level. And it takes learning steps. And I really appreciate, Madigan and Coach Keefe, and just for letting me make mistakes like that. Like, looking back, that just, it meant a ton, because they realize that these kids are young coming in, especially these days. You see more high-end prospects coming in at 18 years old, and they're going to make mistakes. Like, they're not going to be perfect out there. And so that meant a lot. But our first games were at Sacred Heart, and that was definitely a fun game. But I remember just being nervous out there. And then our third game was at home against St. Cloud. They were number 2 team in the country, and it was packed, like sold out. And I remember looking around. We ended up winning 2-1 in a really close game. I remember looking around. I was like, wow, like, this is sweet. This is why guys play college hockey.
Yeah. And that certainly is, it's interesting because, and two, you guys play teams from out west. Back in our day, I think out of the 3 years I was at Northeastern, we played one game against Michigan State, and we went out there to play, and actually played a weekend series with them. But now there's more of that interleague play. But St. Cloud, certainly a school known for hockey. But you get there, and I guess certainly your style of defenseman, your offensive guy, you got great feet. You're able to move the puck. You're able to run a power play. You have the whole package. Is there, I guess, growing at Northeastern as a player, what was maybe the most difficult thing you had to adjust to? You're 5'11", 180 now, but you weren't probably there at that time. Was size a factor for you at all during those early years?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've always taken my training seriously, like in the gym. Like, I'm a pretty strong kid. Like, I lift hard, and and I've always kind of been that way, even in high school. And it wasn't really the strength, but it was more just like knowing how to use it, if that makes sense. Like, knowing how to leverage your strength, knowing how to, you go into the corner, you hit someone before you get to the puck. Knowing how to shield using your butt, like, and extending your hands out. And that was kind of the biggest thing, because in prep school, like, there are definitely some good players, but like with my mobility, you get to the puck first, or you just skate past guys, or you don't have to really change speeds. And it's just like I said, it's just every step is just more and more big boy hockey, and it just takes reps to figure it out, being like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't, just blow past guys. I'm gonna need to change speeds. I'm gonna need to, hit them first before I get the puck to create space. I'm gonna need to lean into them before I cut back, to create just a half more second for myself. And then playing in the NHL, like, it's even more so. You can see why these guys play now up into their late 30s, because they're, they might lose half a step, but they gain half a step back because they're so intelligent and they know how to use it. And it's been really good just to learn that, and I'm still working on that. And you still try to to break down film and look at that stuff. But that was the biggest thing going to college was just figuring out those little things just to give yourself a half more second to make a play. And then again, turning pro, it's just even more of that stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I had just a Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame player, Jacques Lemaire, who was incredible at teaching not just forwards, but defensemen. He was really good with defensemen. And one of the things he always preached was the good use of your stick. Because back in our day, it was like, it was all fucking, brawn. We're gonna spook you. We're gonna hit you. We're gonna intimidate you. And he kind of introduced some of those things to the guys I played with on defense that certainly made a big difference. And I'll say one guy I watched this is in retirement, was Andrei Markov. He had two anterior cruciate injuries in the span of 12 months and had 2 major surgeries. He came back, and he was never the best skater anyway. It wasn't like blinding speed, but he could play certainly at the NHL level. A wonderful career. But near the end, that kid was so good in his positioning and with his stick that I was shocked. I mean, when I watched him skate at training camp, I'm going, I don't know if he's going to be able to, get it done this year. But you're so right when you say that. And if you work on that, in your young career here with Montreal, and you're going to get help too. You're going to get help. I'm nothing against college coaching and what you got there. I'm sure you had great coaching, and you said you did. But here, you're going to get that help, and it's going to help your game. You're going to go to a level you probably didn't think you'd be at. And I can't, because I was telling Barry, I've seen Gallagher from the first day he came here, training camp. So as long as I live long enough, I'm going to get to see you develop here. And I told Barry, I'm excited about it. But one, you're a Mass kid coming here to Montreal, and you're a Northeastern kid. And I'm so happy you're here. But I don't want to get too bogged down on that. But I am excited to watch you play.
Can I ask him one question? Because I think you're still Northeastern, but you played in the Beanpot, and you had an unbelievable goal. Was it triple overtime or double overtime to win the Beanpot?
Yeah, double overtime.
What was it? Is the Beanpot special? I mean, you always hear about it. I mean, was it special, or can you tell me how you kind of felt during that and what it was like scoring that goal?
Yeah, it's so cool. It's just, it's funny because you've talked to anyone from outside New England, they're like, and you tell them where you go to Northeastern, first thing they might think is Northwestern, because that's a lot bigger school for other sports. And then they say Northeastern, they're like, you guys playing that bean thing, that bean tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all people know is the Beanpot. They might not know exactly what it is, but it's so iconic, and it's so special for the whole hockey community in Massachusetts. Kids come out, fans come out, regular students come out, and it's just, it's the best. It really is. And it's funny. I was saying this the other day to a friend. So we play on those Mondays, and so it's the Monday of one week, and then the finals are next week on that other Monday, and we usually play a game in between. And I was thinking, I was like, I don't know if we've ever won that game in between the two Beanpot games, because you're just so jacked up to play in the Beanpot.
Yeah.
And it's sold out, at the Garden, and you go there and you get a police escort, and it's just the whole 9 yards, and it's the coolest thing ever. But scoring that goal is, when you're in the game, you don't really realize the significance of stuff. You're just playing the game, and in second overtime you're pretty tired, so you don't really realize. But looking back, and I was able to win 2 of them. We won 3 years in a row. But it's just really special. And it's one of those things that you look back and be like, wow, that was really cool that we were able to do that.
Yeah, listen, but Barry, the Beanpot is just incredible. First two Monday nights in February, right? And um, it's funny, Jordan. Back in my day, uh, in my second year, I got in a fight. Imagine that at Colgate, and I ended up getting suspended for the second game of the Beanpot. I was like bummed
Oh
out. I was
no.
like, oh, of all games to be suspended for, it was the game between, and we're up at
Exactly.
Colgate, and I had an incident. But anyway, um, yeah, the Beanpot, Barry, being from Boston, and even kids that aren't from that area, when they come to school, whatever the school it is, Harvard, BC, BU, Northeastern, yeah, that you cannot wait for that part of the season. You can't wait for February to play in that Beanpot tournament. And Northeastern historically have been brutal. They won like one Beanpot in 50 years, and during my time there, we never even got to the final until the year I left. I left school 1 year early, and I ended up going to Montreal after I was drafted. And the year I left, I'm in I was in Montreal that time, and I couldn't watch it, but I could not wait to find out the results. And the guys I played with ended up winning it for the first time in I don't know how many years. It was incredible. So long after you're gone out of there, so all the alumnus come back, people come back to watch it. It's so cool to be a part of, and not every hockey player in college hockey gets to experience that, and it's something. You're the talk. You're the talk of the town. You're the balls walking around with that Beanpot during the year. It's for the king of Boston when it comes to hockey. But and I was going to get into the Beanpot thing, but certainly your career at Northeastern. A lot of people looking. You're drafted now. You were drafted third round, 71st overall by the Habs. What was that like? Like, did you go to the draft? Back in my day, you didn't. I got a letter like a week later from the Habs
Really?
saying you've been
Wow.
drafted. Blah blah. I found out on the news, but you didn't. Back in our day, you didn't go to the draft like they do today. Did you go to the draft and hear your name called?
Yeah, I was at the draft. It was me and my family, and two agents. We were down in Dallas, which is a really nice venue. Like they did a great job down there. Um, and it's just really neat because you just see like all these kids that you've seen on the projections all year on the list. Like you see the list, the central scouting. You talk to scouts, like we see you here, maybe, second, third round, whatever, and it's just in the back of your mind all year is the draft. And that was like the one moment where you can sit down and be like, okay, it's out of my hands now. Whatever happens, happens. And just gonna enjoy it with my family, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So that was really special. I didn't think I was going to Montreal. Like at the scouting combine, you have all the interviews, and I interviewed with them. I thought it went pretty well, but it was pretty short, and I walked out of it. I was like, okay, maybe, no real great feelings, no bad feelings at all, but and then to hear your name called it's just, it's so special, and you go down and you put on the jersey for the first time, and you get to meet everyone and do all the media after, but definitely a whirlwind, that's for sure.
I read something about your mom, and she said you apparently as a kid it was never your goal. Like you didn't say, "Oh, I want to play in the NHL. I want to play in the NHL." You just played hockey, which is cool. But that draft and being in Dallas at that time, where were you rated in Central Scouting? And you ended up going 71st overall. Was that kind of nerve-wracking after looking at where you were rated? Were you picked where you were rated?
Pretty much, yeah. I ended up being 44 for North America. So I was thinking anywhere from second to third round, like that's what I've been hearing for a little bit. and you hear from different teams like, oh, we have him slotted here and then it's also like, if he's here in this slot, we'll take him. Like I heard that a couple of times, and that didn't happen with a couple of teams, and so you don't know how things are gonna play out. But you're a young kid, 17, and you think about what teams think of you. Oh, like this game I played bad when this guy was here, like stuff like that. It just it gets in your head, and I wish if I were to go back, I was just able to enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah. It's funny. Northeastern, right, Barry? There's two. Well, back in my day, there were two places to go, college bars: Punter's Pub and the Cask and Flagon. And I happened to be in the Cask and Flagon the night I was drafted. I had no idea. I didn't even know the draft was going on. I was 20 years old. And I'm in there, and someone come up to me and says, "Hey, congratulations." I said, "What? You were drafted by the Montreal Canadiens." I said, "No way." And I mean, you're shitting me. And he said, no, it was on the sports. They just said there were like 5 local kids from the local colleges who were drafted. So we went in the back room and asked the guy to switch the other sports station to see if we could see it. And it had just started the sports on the other stations. They put it on. That's how I found out. And then like I said, no one called me. I got a letter like a week and a half later saying, "You've been drafted. You're invited to training camp." And I wanted to leave school. I stayed in one more. So my dad wanted to kill me because I wanted to leave school. He said, "You're not leaving school. You stay there." So anyway, I stayed one more year, and I ended up leaving after my third season. Now there was a lot of talk, Jordan Harris, that, Montreal's going to try and pull him out of school and get him out of there. And credit to you stayed. God bless you, because you'll understand it one day. I'm sure you already do, but one day you'll look back and be so happy that you did stay. But that being said, did you feel any pressure from the organization? Did they try and pull you out? Because the Habs were struggling, in the NHL. They were struggling in the standings. And I'm sure they were, I'm not sure, but that's what I'm asking you. Did they try and get you to leave a year or two early?
Yeah, so after my junior year, when Bergevin and Claude were still there was talk. They were like, "Hey, we'd like you to turn pro after the season and join the organization." And that was the year they went to the Cup Final.
Yeah.
And that's the hard decision that I made was, do I want to go back? Do I want to stay? And I ended up making the decision to stay for my senior year. And then they went on the incredible run, went to the Stanley Cup Final, and I was like in my dorm, and I was like, man, like I could have been at least in some capacity a part of that, whether I was playing, whether I was in any situation, but just to be a part of the organization in a Stanley Cup Final run would have been sweet, especially coming right out of college. So I was like, oh man, like I missed out on that opportunity. And I was like, going back, I still thought it was the best decision for me personally. And like you said, I definitely think looking back, I'll be, happy that I stayed for that last year, because I think, again, these days with just the overall coverage on hockey and the pressure on some of these kids, there really is this like need to rush through all the different levels of hockey, and always get to the next step and quicker and better competition. But it's like, are you really ready? Like, have you really developed? And there's so much more than just on the ice as maturity. There's, like you're going to go through adversity at some point. Why not go through adversity in a place that, you're going to get playing time, that you're going to be able to develop and work on yourself on and off the ice and learn as much about yourself before you make that step. It's so important. So I'm definitely happy with my decision.
Yeah. And you know what? I got to tell you, I went through the same thing. And I say it, I went through the same thing because I wanted to leave school that year. I stayed in school. The Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup that year. And I could have I mean, I could have. So it again, and it says a lot about you too, making that commitment to Northeastern and then following through. I think what NHL teams they worry about, right, is what Jim Vesey Jr. did, right? He drafted by Nashville and ended up going to Rangers. I forget who one of the Hayes did it, right? And I think that's what teams worry about after those 4 years. Did you ever entertain the thought of saying, maybe I'm not going to go to Montreal. I'll go to the Rangers, or I'll go to LA, or I'll go here? Did that thought ever come into mind?
I knew that, like, after your 4 years, you can go to free agency if you wait till August. And the only time I really thought, I was like, we'll see what happens, when there was that organizational shift, when Bergevin and some of the other management members got let go, and there was uncertainty around Ducharme, and I was like, okay, we'll see how this plays out, because I'd love to be a part of the Habs organization, but again, at the end of the day, you want to make sure it's the best fit, and it's a place that is a best fit for both parties. But then when Kent was hired, when Marty was hired, and I think it was pretty obvious to fans and players alike that the organization was in fantastic hands. And after speaking to them and talking to them both about how they saw the team moving forward, is it was just a win-win situation. I get to stay with the team that I was drafted to, lucky enough to be drafted to, in an organization that I've gotten to meet a bunch of great people and make connections with, and then join a team that I think is a great fit. And after meeting some of the guys and coaches, I really do believe it's a great spot to be in. So it was a win-win situation all around.
Were you a Bees fan growing up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like me, there's a lot of similarities here, and it's funny. Being that Bruins fan, I hated the Canadiens, because the Bruins always lost to them in the playoffs when I was a young kid. And even after I was drafted in '78, I was pulling for the Bruins to beat the Canadiens because I had no connection there yet. I didn't have, and I was still such a diehard Bruins fan. And of course, that was the two men in the ice game. Lafleur scores, and then off they go. They win another Stanley Cup. I was I was heartbroken. But that being said, the Bruins fan going to Montreal, the hated Montreal Canadiens. People in Boston hate Montreal, but there is a respect there for the organization, no question. But how was it for you? You leave, your college career is over now, and you come up. You play the last 10 games of the season, and you pull that jersey on for the first time and skate out on the Bell Center ice. How cool was that?
The coolest feeling ever. And you hear players say, when they do the polls, what's your favorite place to play? And, over half the time I always see the Bell Center, Montreal. And being there and going through I could see why, I could so see why. And there's some great, barns around the league and some cool places I got to play in. Like MSG was really cool because, it's nostalgic, and Tampa was my first game. That place was, lots of energy, and obviously the team has been great over the years, but there's something about, just knowing it's the Montreal Canadiens and the history, and like even the song that they play when you come out onto the ice, you get chills. And it was just you try to take it in, you're like, this is actually happening right now, and you pull on that sweater and you walk out, and there's a giant plaque of names and all the awards won, and you just go through, MVPs, scoring titles, Norris winners, and you're just like, wow, this is, legendary. It's absolutely legendary. As even being a Boston kid, it's the coolest thing ever. And I still get crap, from my buddies, like, oh, I don't know if I can be a Habs fan now, all that stuff. And but as you know, it's just special. at the end of the day, it's really special. And you don't take it for granted, that's for sure.
Well, I'm sure you will, but do your homework on the history. It'll help. You always try and say a couple words in French if you have that opportunity. People will absolutely love that. It doesn't take much, believe me, and certainly, and I'm not worried about that. But applying yourself night in and night out on the ice, the fans will absolutely love that. But that being said, the Habs and this organization over the years and all the history and all the glory. Now you're going to, and I love this. I tell everybody, go figure. They had to bring a Boston guy up here to straighten this mess out, and Jeff Gordon. And I every time I get a chance, I dig on people about that. But you have an opportunity here that's just, this is so awesome for you because there are so many young players here with a lot of promise. And you're part of that. And you're one of those young players. And you're part of a group that are going to be able to grow together now and get to that Stanley Cup final and maybe one day be able to lift that thing. How excited are you about, your own situation, but the other young talent that is coming in here and being part of that experience? It's gonna be awesome.
For sure, yeah. And really excited. Like I'm going up on Tuesday to go up to camp. We have our rookie showcase in Buffalo there, but like you said, there are a lot of young guys, and that's fun because then you can form a little group. You have guys going through the same experiences together. They're getting their feet wet in pro hockey, so I feel like you're able to relate to that, and there's a lot of talent, and a lot of excitement. You see, like Kirby Doc, for example, like you said, like this is a new opportunity for me, and he signed his extension, and I don't know him personally, but you just see like guys are excited to be joining the group and led by Suzuki and Cole, and they've done a great job already, but it is really exciting, and I don't know some of the guys, on that level yet, but, really looking forward to making those relationships. I would love to be a part of the organization as long as I can, and I'd love to be part of, that next generation that, can hopefully win in Montreal and have success in Montreal. Like, that would be a huge honor. And it's cool. And, I play with Caden Primo at Northeastern, so really excited for him that he'll be around for a few more years. And again, he's part of that core as well. And so there is a lot of promise. And you see, like, the picks stacking up and a lot of the draft picks. And there's, like I run with Slavkovsky at the NHLPA event. And he's a great kid, and he'll do great. And he's a beast. He's a big boy. But, you just see that they're great players, but they're also great people at the end of the day. And that's just as important.
Yeah, it is. No question about it. Listen, I'm looking at on the back end now. Like I said, Caden Primo here, which is good. A guy you play with at Northeastern. Jaden Strubble. What's the deal with Jaden right now? What's going on with him?
He's going back Northeastern for his senior year. Again, we'll be the top defenseman there, and really excited for him, to continue. He'll have, a little more responsibility, leading the back end there, and hopefully he'll be in some leadership capacity, maybe assistant captain there this year. But really excited for him, and he's a great kid and talent, and I hope he joins the Habs at the end of the year. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Northeastern is starting to be a feeder system for the Montreal Canadiens. I like that.
Right.
On D, when I look at cap friendly, all right, you got the Habs have Mike Matheson, Joel Edmondson, David Savard, Justin Barron, Chris Weidman, Corey Schooneman, and Jordan Harris on there. You feel, you finished the season with this team. You feel you're going to start this season for the Montreal Canadiens?
I hope so. That's my goal. I'm going to do everything that I can to, put my best foot forward and make the team. And at the end of the day, nothing's given. You have to earn your spot. And I know as a young guy trying to make my name for myself and cement a spot, you have to earn everything. And I'm, as prepared as I've been going into a year and really excited. Um, and, I feel like with situations like that, like any team you're trying out for, you can only control as much as you can. So, you might as well make the best out of it. And I'm going to do just that. And I'm confident in what I can do. I'm going to do everything to, hopefully crack that roster because, that would be a huge honor.
All right, you came 10 games last year. You scored a goal. Coming into that situation, certainly exciting for you. What was the biggest surprise for you, like when you came in, about pro hockey? I'm playing pro hockey. What was the biggest surprise in that short time last year that you got to spend here?
Probably when I got my helmet ripped off in the first game in front of the net. And I got that penalty. I'm not used to my helmet coming off mid-play. But I would say just the intelligence of players, and the players are so good at playing to their strengths. Like the big boys, play like big men. Like they shield the puck, they take the puck hard to the net. They play, their role, and just it honestly wasn't as physical as I thought. I'm sure playoffs are a whole different animal. You can see the intensity ratchet up in playoffs, but just the intelligence, like every little thing's done with a purpose. The guys are in the right position, and that was really helpful to see that going into this year. Just because you can prepare a little better and think about how you might change a few things about your playing style. The travel, I can definitely see it adding up a little bit. The travel is a lot different than college, because college you play on a Friday, Saturday. Like you have all week to prepare. You can get in, 3 lifts in a week in a row and be jumping on Friday, but now professionally, you're hopping on a plane right after a game. You're getting in late. You're up for practice the next day. You're playing a game the next day. Like it's nonstop. So that'll definitely be an adjustment, playing pretty much double the games as you do in college. So I'd say those two things. Yeah.
Well, for sure that that'll be an adjustment. There's no question about it. Playing at that level and playing that number of games, you have to certainly not pace yourself, but you'll learn the ropes. That there's no question about it. But the off ice part of it here. How about the city? How you got a bit of a taste of it? How cool was it to walk around here? Because you're gonna make a name for yourself here. I'm convinced of it. But when you do, when you go out to the store, you go here, once they know your face and what you do on the ice, you are not going to be able to go anywhere. It's not going to be like KUA, and it won't even be like Northeastern. People will be after Jordan Harris all the time. That's good. That's going to be new to you. But what do you think of that city and playing in? Like you hear a lot of people. Not everybody can play in this city. A lot of guys have come here and they find it difficult, But that being said, I look at this city as a city that and a fan base that they expect a lot, and it's good in a lot of ways because you got to be on your toes. We have Max Pacioretty on here, and Max, he was here and he was under pressure from the media all the time. This one, that one, the fan base. And he said he went to Vegas and he said he almost was like, he said, I had to take a look at myself and kind of put more pressure on myself because I wasn't getting that pressure from the media, from the fan base. It was like, whatever Max does out there, that's great. People love them out there. Oh, that's beautiful. But he felt the pressure here and he said it actually, it's hard to deal with, but it really helped him in a lot of ways where he had to find it. in Vegas. How about you being able to deal with that pressure here in the city?
That is really interesting. That he said that, and like when you talked about being around the city, it was weird, joining the team because I was like, really, you want my autograph? Like, you sure? Like it's just a normal kid from April who just
Yeah,
skates a lot and works hard, and um, but it was just so funny. But I think it's great, the passion that the city has for hockey, and I don't really like to see it as pressure, but it's more a responsibility to, if you're gonna be able to play for a team like Montreal, like you should, want to be the greatest you can, and you should want to, go out every night and do your best on the ice, and wear that jersey proudly, because it's an honor, it's a job, but it's also a privilege to play hockey at that level and in Montreal. So it's definitely a higher level of responsibility, and that, doesn't go unnoticed. But, I have the same expectation for myself that I'm sure any other fan would, or I'm probably harder on myself than anyone else probably could be, from an outside perspective. So I'm right there with the fans. I expect a lot of myself, and want the team to succeed, want myself to succeed, and I feel like there shouldn't be any less expectations. There should be a winning team in Montreal. Like, the fans have been great. In our last game, we were last in the league, and it was almost sold out, and that's just great.
crazy,
And it's
right?
just the coolest thing. I think it's great. I think you really have to lean into it and really just embrace it, because it's a privilege, like I said.
Good for you. Have you had smoked meat yet? Poutine, any of that stuff?
No, I haven't. I was talking about this. I need to, because I feel like I'm missing out.
No, you will. You'll. There's a place called Schwartz's, the old style smoked meat, the best place to go. And then Poutine. There's a couple good places, but you'll find them. And then certainly Medusa, the Italian restaurant, is awesome. A lot of guys go there. The owners are
Okay.
really good to the players, and they're good to the team. But anyway, geez, I'm looking forward to this. Barry, you got anything to add? I know you.
I just I just had a few questions. I'm enjoying it so much. I've just been sitting back here and listening. Um, my couple questions are: is there what's the biggest hurdle you actually had to overcome? I mean, you look back and all the what if you look back, there had to be some hurdle that you just were struggling with.
It's a good question. I feel like oftentimes with players, you just see like the finished result. You just see the honest reaction, but you don't really get to see behind the scenes, what problems guys go through, or hurdles, and everyone's different. I'd say for me it's more just like I've always wanted to be better. Like, I've always wanted to be better. Every level I've gone, I've always wanted more and more and more out of myself. And I would say a hurdle is just every year figuring out how can I improve, in these different aspects, whether it's, offensively, defensively, getting bigger, stronger, thinking quicker, being more patient. It's just, I would say every year it's just dialing in what I need to do better, and how do I get there. And so I would say it's more of a constant, like, look in the mirror rather than one big hurdle. Um, because it's not always going to work out, but I feel like if you really stick to it, really stick to the process, and take a deep look and be humble and be like, what can I do to get better, then it's all going to work out. So I'd say it's more of an ongoing process than one big thing.
My only other question is how how does your father call and critique your game? Does he watch all
Because
the
you did it
games
to
and
your
what's
son, Barry.
what's kind of the relationship? How does the relationship work with a father who played hockey, who coached you, and probably watches you all every game? I mean, how does it work? How does it operate?
You know what, Barry? I think over the years I've learned not to always pick up the phone. You know, when my dad's calling me the day after a game, um, especially if I'm still thinking about the game, because then it's not going to be a good conversation. Um, but you know, I've realized it comes out of, you know, a place for love, and we've had our struggles over the years, like any other father, son, any other coach, player. Like he's coached me for a long time, so he knows me better than anyone, and he really understands the game well. And I won't tell him that because it'll just, you know, I don't want to give him that satisfaction, but um, he really does understand the game well, and it's sometimes, you know, painful to hear because I always know he's right, and sometimes I don't want to hear it. Um, but again, I think it just pushes me to be better. Like Chris, like you said about the Montreal media, it just pushes you to be better, and sometimes you need that little kick. Like you're not always going to be motivated to get up and go shoot pucks, or to go, you know, do the extra, or sometimes you're like, I'm not feeling it tonight. But you know, having my dad, having, you know, the great fans in Montreal, having my own expectations, it gets you, you know, up and going. So my dad, I really appreciate the effort that he's put in over the years, like driving through snowstorms when our practice is canceled. Me and him are the only ones on the ice because he was the only parent who wanted to drive through the blizzard on the highway. You can't even see out the windshield, you know, uh, just stuff like that. But we've had our struggles, but he's the person that I probably value his opinion the most.
That's so cool. That's so cool. It's funny. Yeah, I think about I just lost my dad last December, and God bless him.
Sorry to hear that.
But he was that way with me, and they only mean well and want the best for you. But it's funny. I'll tell you a story. My number 30 up here in the back. It's a goalie's number. And back in my day, when someone got called up from Nova Scotia, they gave them number 30. It was a call-up number because no goalie was wearing it at the time. So I get it. My father goes in the pro shop, buys number 30, comes to the game, Bruins, we're playing the Bruins, buys a number 30, nylon on the back. And the guy in the pro shop said, do you think he will be here long enough for you to wear the shirt? And my father said, I don't give a shit if he's here for 1 game or 10 games or 10 years. Just give me the jersey. And like that near the end of the season, I said, Dad, you know, I'm thinking changing my number. I said, I don't want a fucking goalie's number. I don't want a goalie's number. He said, no. He said, you keep that jersey and you make something out of that number 30. And you know, I looked at it and I kept thinking I want to change it, but then I said, you know what? He's right. Maybe I'll keep the number 30 and I'll make something out of it. And the more I look back, I often say, joking around, I said, the cheap bastard, he didn't want to buy another jersey. If I got like number 18 exactly, or whatever, he's like, I don't want to buy another jersey. But, you know I certainly, and I'm sure your father's proud of you, but I know my dad, what I did in the game. Yeah, he was, you know, I wasn't even supposed to be in the NHL. And after getting there, it's awesome. So our dad certainly, so important to us, and you're lucky to have a guy who certainly played the game and loves you and cares about you. So that's awesome. Good stuff. Listen, Jordan Harris, you are a fine young man. I'm so happy that you're coming here to play for this organization instead of another one. And yeah, I look forward to watching you develop into that everyday NHLer who one day you will have a guy up in the front office leading the Montreal Canadiens and a guy from Boston leading the power play. I love it. So listen, enjoy your time here. Thank you for taking the time. And I wish you nothing but the best here in Montreal.
Thank you. Thank you both very much.